Welcome back to the Skiff. So I'm going to bring in Ashe Epp, and we're going to talk Tina Peters. She is the axe out in Colorado on what's going on. How you doing, Ashe? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me. I also no middle seats on those airplanes. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I hate that. I mean, it ruins my day if I'm like in the middle. I mean, I can handle the window.
Yeah. I always do Southwest. I just got in the habit years ago. And so if you you check in super early enough, then you always end up in the middle. And that's been my flying experience for the past several years. So yeah, Bella looks really cool. Tina Peters, really exciting stuff out here.
Fill us in. What's going on?
So our audience is very familiar with the actual facts of Tina Peters' case. The narrative about Tina Peters here in Colorado, she's either Joan of Arc or Osama bin Laden. So the reality is that there are 4 felonies driving the majority of her sentence. It's 8 years and 3 months of the 9-year sentence that is these 4 felonies. And the 4 felonies tie to one misrepresentation that Conan Hayes was Jerry Wood at the trusted build.
Right.
So Tina Peters she stipulated to that fact at trial that Conan Hayes was Jerry Wood. She thought she would be able to at trial talk about her intent for why she did that, why she did it the way that she did, but she was not. She's prevented from talking about her intent. And that came up a little bit during the hearing, but it's really important for people to realize, and we've hammered this to the CDM and Colorado Free Press audience. And I'm feeling pretty good about it, Todd, because the appellate court on Wednesday basically reiterated everything that we've been saying about the issues with this case. And it wasn't because the legal work was so great on either side of this thing. It was that the court themselves have problems with how this case went down. They read everything. They were fully briefed on every aspect of it, read every bit of the sentencing discussion, which was quite long and extraordinarily biased. And the judges themselves brought up a lot of the main issues with the due process of this case. So again, 4 felonies. It's one misrepresentation to 3 people. So that's Danny Casillas, Jesse Romero, and there's one more. I wrote his name down. Always forget the third guy's name. It's not terribly important, but two members of Secretary of State's office, 1 member of Mesa County IT. Conan Hayes was presented as Jerry Wood. That's 3 felonies. Yeah. The 4th felony is conspiracy to do that, conspiracy to present Conan Hayes as Jerry Wood. What came up interesting, and this is something we haven't covered. I don't think anybody has covered this. The 4th felony, the conspiracy charge, was actually briefed and cited the language as a misdemeanor. So the jury was briefed on a misdemeanor. The state indicted and filed, and the court sentenced a felony. And there was an explosive moment in the trial. I have the clip if you'd like me to play it. I have my buddy Brian, who's been my partner in crime on all things election related. So he's on this stream. If I can find the right clip. This is absolutely crazy to me that this went down this way. Hold on one second and I'll share.
This is the reaction to a question by the judge. Is that it? Or
yeah, this is specifically them asking about this felony that was so it's 15 extra months of prison time, right? It is it's her an additional felony on her record, and the state refuses to change it. This is it's a little bit of a longer clip. I'll see. I think I can probably turn it up to 1.5 speed. It'll be about like a little under 3 minutes.
Yeah,
but this is insane. When you realize we've been saying for years that Colorado has weaponized the government against Trump supporters and election deniers specifically. Also parents' rights advocates and Second Amendment advocates, right? Any liberty-loving people. The government has been weaponized against us here in Colorado.
You included, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I fought allegations of racism and trying to intimidate Black and brown voters because they didn't like our canvassing operation, and they certainly didn't like that we found 8 to 11% fraud in the voter rolls. So they, demonized us, attached our name to the KKK Act and all of these kinds of things. Defended myself at trial and won in 2024 because, the First Amendment still actually does exist, even in Colorado.
Wow.
But these 3 judges on this Colorado Court of Appeals. Who out there thinks Colorado has, courts that you're going to get a fair hearing? And these, blown away. I was there. There's parts of this where I was like kind of bouncing up and down. And I'm like, I can't believe that courts are finally saying the things that we've been saying about this. But check this out. If you want to pull that up.
Do you think it's because all this pressure is coming on the judges?
I think that's part of it. And we can talk about Jared Polis, but I want to play this for you, if you're cool with it. Yeah.
That a person can still be convicted of a crime with which they were never charged and with which the jury was never. Is it your position that a person can still be convicted of a crime with which they were never charged and with which the jury was never instructed, as long as the evidence is sufficient?
Yes, I think that is what the case law indicates, that if it's just in this case, I'll just point out too that, I don't have the language of the statutes that you're citing in your hypothetical, but it was one word, might, and it was already,
but that one word distinguishes it from a felony to a misdemeanor.
And this case made an extra sentence, 15 more months in the Department of Corrections that couldn't have been given had it been a misdemeanor conviction. It clearly affects a substantial right.
And I'm confused as to why the people are continuing to maintain that the proper remedy on this isn't to enter the conviction for the misdemeanor, because the indictment used the word might and the jury was instructed on that. So that's what the verdict is. I am baffled as to the position that's being taken, that we can somehow overlook that and still enter the felony because the evidence that was presented at trial would have supported the felony. Are you still maintaining that position in front of us here today?
Yes, that is our position.
What case law supports that argument?
I'm sorry.
What case law supports that?
I cited it in my brief. I don't have it right in front of me, but
so we could probably stop it there.
Just a doofus.
Yeah, well, she's actually a competent attorney. She usually argues for Sex State, and other assistant AG, assistant attorney general Lisa Michaels. But the state is stuck here because they did weaponize the government, and Tina Peters' case is kind of the linchpin that holds their whole. They call election fraud the big lie, but the big lie is actually safest and most secure election in history. And we've, all of us on the liberty-minded side, truth side of things, have pointed out across Georgia and Pennsylvania, Michigan, here in Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, California, where there have been real issues, and that's safest and most secure thing. Well, that was always narrative. It was always nonsense. And Chris Krebs knew it was nonsense when he said it, because at the time that he said it, they were investigating spear phishing attacks in like 78% of the devices across the nation, according to Yehuda Miller's reporting on FOIAs. So they lied to us. They gaslit us about it. And so here we've had the AG, the Mesa County DA, the Secretary of State, and the Clerks Association, and a bunch of the clerks individually all sign on to letters begging Jared Polis not to commute her sentence. Why? Well, because if Tina Peters gets out, is allowed to talk, and the courts aren't going to stop her from saying the scary election things that she's going to say, people might start to listen. And as long as she's locked up, all of those letters, Todd, have said Tina Peters is the only person who's in trouble, who's been, who's seen accountability for the election denialism in 2020. That's their argument. That's why she has to be locked up, because she's their trophy. And that's been my position all along, is that Tina Peters is the most valuable political scalp in this state. She is, and that's for both sides, because I think that both sides are using her story detached from the facts to drive political narratives. Tina Peters is sitting in prison in Pueblo while everybody's trafficking in her name.
I totally see that. So I have two questions for you. One, did the pardon come up? And two, is it better for this just to proceed and not even worry about the pardon?
So the pardon did come up. Yeah. They were supposed to have oral arguments on both of these matters. So on Christmas Eve, they filed a motion to vacate jurisdiction based on the pardon. And we saw John Case and Peter Tickton do media rounds, right? They're on Bannon and other shows talking about the pardon. I think Peter Tickton's position has always been to get this case to the Supreme Court as quickly as possible. And he sees that as the vehicle to do it. What we saw in the hearing on Wednesday, at the very beginning, the court said, we know there's two issues to to brief here to have oral arguments on. There's the pardon, and then there's it's the jurisdiction question is how they refer to it, but it's the pardon question. And then there's the merits of the appeal. And Peter Tickton stood up and said, we do not want to spend our time talking about the pardon. We would like to spend, because they only had 30 minutes per side. And so they wanted to spend that time talking about the errors of the court at trial, sentencing, and the merits of the appeal. I think that was a smart choice. They believe that their jurisdiction question, the pardon question, is fully briefed. I also think that Peter Tickton doesn't really care to argue before the Colorado Court of Appeals on this issue. He wants the U.S. Supreme Court to make the decision. I think they expect the Colorado Court of Appeals to say no and say that they do have jurisdiction, and then they'll appeal that to the Supreme Court, at least according to the theory that they've talked about.
Wow. So
what was your second question?
Well, that was it. I mean, would it be better just to let the case proceed as it is if the appellate court is on her side, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't say that they're on her side. Again, like I said in the beginning, I don't think that it was the persuasive abilities of either side that got the court to this point. I don't think it was the brief. I've read most of the briefs. I've read all the appellate briefs, but I've read most of the briefing in this case broadly. I don't think it's the strength of the legal work of either the state or Tina Peters' defense. I think the court, and this could be, Todd, the changing tide and the pressure, because almost, I think it was exactly a year ago, give or take a couple of days, because legislative session started Wednesday, and it was first day of legislative session last year that President Trump promised harsh measures if Tina Peters wasn't free. You'll remember that, right?
Yeah.
And at the time I said, this is fantastic because Colorado is drunk on spending and 40% of our state budget is federal funding. So you are going to be able to inflict some pain on discretionary matters, right? So not not retaliation, but hey, your state isn't aligning with the agendas of the nation right now. We're not going to give you all this discretionary funding. State of Colorado has 50 lawsuits against the administration. They brag about that. They think it's a good thing. A.G. Weiser is running for governor right now and cites all of his lawsuits against the federal government as a campaign accomplishment, which is mind-blowing to me, right? Because we're not supposed to merge those two worlds.
So how's that governor's race going? I didn't want to get you off track, but I'm curious. Is he going to be the man or what?
I think he'll be the nominee for the Democrats, although they have a competitive primary. Senator Michael Bennet is also running for governor here. And, both of them are toolboxes. So who knows? But, either way, it's not good for us. But Michael Bennet, it'll be fun for us because Michael Bennet is attacking the Weiser agenda, the Polis agenda, and kind of the situation. He is not an outsider. He's like the most inside swampy character, but he's running for governor as a bit of an outsider because he's outside the current administration. And so that'll be fun, I think, to watch that primary go down and watch them, do some of our work for us.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. I'm going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Pointing out the issues.
kidding. So do you think this is going to be like, if Tina gets out, like the key that picks the lock to like save Colorado? Or, I mean, there'll be a lot of work to do, but do you think that'll crack enough to open things up?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think I don't think we need more evidence of election fraud. I think we need election fraud to be actioned. We need them to do something about it. We have years. Yeah, the record is thick, and the record is thick across multiple states, and we know that you only need like 5 counties in order to, rig the electoral college and rig the election. And so I think we have all of that information. It is in different forms. It's in official record in a lot of cases. So there is, in Arizona, there was signature verification stuff put on the record. In Georgia, there's been a bunch of machine stuff put on the record. The idea that we have to have some more disclosure before we can have, a reckoning, a come to Jesus moment about our elections, that is more dodge to me. I think that's more of the kicking the can down the road. So I disagree with that, with that premise. I do think that we are going. So I've said all along, Todd, I think that the key to Tina Peters, and this came up when the whole she's a federal whistleblower thing was going around. Remember that? They can just go take her out and declare her a federal whistleblower, and that'll be fine. And I always said, no, I don't think you can do that, because I don't think that she is a federal whistleblower. I don't think that she has firsthand personal knowledge that would be admitted in court, admissible testimony to election fraud. And we know that because she had to bring in experts, right? She's not an expert. She didn't witness election fraud. She witnessed the trusted build. What Tina Peters is a whistleblower. She's a federal whistleblower on weaponization of government, not on election fraud. And what we're starting to see, and I've been saying this for over a year now, what we're starting to see is that the weaponization of government investigation, and it first came up in Colorado in Tina Peters' case. It was when her motion for bond was filed at the end of 2024, and the position taken was, I'm trying to remember what the position of the court was. But regardless, when that was filed, the DOJ came in and issued a statement of interest expressing real concern in her sentencing and in some of the ways that her court was. They mentioned that they're opening investigation into the weaponization of government. What we heard from the appellate court on Wednesday is that has legs, man. Because you heard Lisa Michaels, well, yeah, this is still our position. Even though we accidentally gave her an extra felony, we want to keep it because we think she's super duper bad. In the United States of America, our criminal justice system prioritizes the rights of the accused to ensure justice. And she all but admitted that was inverted in this case. That is the weaponization of government. I think that weaponization of government is going to come into focus in a big way this year. And for that, Todd, I think Tina Peters is the key that unlocks the lock.
Well, I guess I said it wrong because, I agree, Ed Martin, and I hope Trump comes out with some kind of executive order on the machines and on the mail. He's done a lot, but nobody's following it. So how do you enforce it? So, but I was thinking more like the Colorado cabal. I mean, if this cracks, if she gets out of jail and people start hearing what she has to say, I'm more concerned about like the governor and the Secretary of State and the AG and all that. Are they going to go down? That's my question, really.
So I think the governor is isolated from liability on this. I also think he's running for president. So Jared Polis is very likely running for president in 2028. Whenever Jared Polis runs for president or runs for office, I should say, he pretends to be libertarian. That's his MO. And so he did an interview yesterday, and I'm going to get this up on a recap of it up on Colorado Free Press today. But he did an interview yesterday, very libertarian, talking about commuting her sentence. Listen, she's a first-time offender. This was overly harsh. Nobody else in Colorado would get this kind of sentence. The governor of Colorado. He also, in that same interview, talked about
her easily.
But he also, this is how after I read the interview transcript, I posted, he's definitely running because he's talking about vaccine mandates as my body, my choice.
Oh, no.
So, he's fake libertarian. Jared Polis is back. He's running for president. So I could see him trying to commute her sentence, before this. I think it's a tough spot for him because it looks like he's trying to interfere with what the court's going to do if he does it. But also if the court gives Tina Peters relief, the political value of Tina Peters evaporates pretty quickly. And so, Jared Polis has some calculus to consider.
He's getting in front of that, what you're saying.
I think so, yeah.
Wow. Well, so I agree with you. You know, before the show today, you said we need to flex on Colorado because your reporting is so freaking awesome on all of this. So
We've been right. We've been right. Told you so, everyone, because we took a lot of heat for not being on the either Joan of Arc or Osama bin Laden side, but straight reporting this in the future. We
Mhm.
covered every second of the trial on Colorado Free Press. We covered
Mhm.
every second of the sentencing. The issues that the Colorado Court of Appeals brought up on Wednesday, we have been talking about on Colorado Free Press since the trial, since the sentencing. And I read a column here as well for a local paper, and I have the distinction of getting the most complaints to the editor of anybody that writes for the paper. And the number one thing I get complaints on is me telling the truth about Tina Peters and saying the things that the Colorado Court of Appeals said on Wednesday. So yeah, we should be flexing because we were right, and we were exclusively right.
And people need to know that. So if you're in Colorado or just want to know what's going on, go to coloradofreepress.com. So don't you hate it? Now, I ran into this recently. Don't you hate it when other like so-called journalists start like forcing you to go into a position? Like, you should really do this. You should. I mean, have you kind of felt that pressure on Tina Peters?
I get that a lot in this state. I will say I get it from like Republicans and right side of the aisle people. How come you aren't? Oh, wait a second. Do you think that this person is wrong? You know, my favorite journalist, influencer person, name your name, right? Are you saying you don't like X person? No, actually, I'm just talking about the facts.
Words in my mouth, honey.
I'm just talking about the facts of the case, and I'm not ever gonna. That's one thing that I appreciate about you is you've never, ever asked me to take a position on something. You've asked me to cover stuff, but you've never tried to shape how my reporting is. It's not always the case, and I generally don't work with people who do that. Once I learn that that's a thing and you're trying to get me to be a propagandist instead of a journalist, that's usually where it ends.
I ran into this. I was on a trip with Hegseth, and one of the other journalists was like, why aren't you saying this? Why aren't you saying that? I'm like, I am not getting in the middle of that spaghetti fight. That's not what we're about. We're about just journalism and bringing facts to the people. We'll give them both sides and let them decide,
which is how it should be.
Yeah,
we're not.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to trust me, right? On like, oh, let's just trust Ashe's opinion. No, I'm not. In a lot of this, I'm not giving you my opinion. I will tell you when I am, right? In the article that's up on Colorado Free Press right now, I have this line. I'm like, okay, below the line, I'm speculating about what I think is possibly going to happen. But I want people to turn their brains on. I want to make critical thinking great again and make an informed, educated, engaged American public, because that's the only way that we're going to solve this problem is if the people actually turn their brains on and start governing themselves again.
Totally.
And for that, you need good, valuable information. And that's where we come in.
Yeah. And that's why you fit so well with CDM. I love it. So tell me what else is going on in Colorado. What else should people be watching out for?
Yeah, I mean, it's election year. So everybody has midterms, right? But we have governor, AG, secretary of state. We have a big shakeup happening in the party infrastructure. So in the last couple of election cycles, the libertarians played a really key role here in kind of disrupting the uniparty dynamic. They had in the 2022 elections, 2024 elections, agreement, libertarians and Republicans, that where there were both libertarians and Republicans running for office in a specific district, they'd figure out who had the better chance of winning and the other person would drop out. That actually really impacted our landscape, most notably Gabe Evans up in CD8, the new district in Colorado, newest, I should say, district in Colorado. He won, and I think he specifically won. It was a very close race, and the Libertarians, they made that deal where the Libertarian dropped out and endorsed Gabe Evans, and they ended up winning. That is not going to be the dynamic going forward, because all of the people that negotiated that and actually made the Libertarian Party something other than a joke in Colorado, well, those people they were all forced out by the libertarians who like being a joke, right? They like being kind of the redheaded stepchild of the DSA movement. And so what we saw is that those people, they called themselves the Chainsaw Caucus, that actually did have an impact on the 2024 elections. They're now becoming Democrats and Republicans and going to change that from the inside. So that'll be interesting to watch. I learned some of that on Wednesday when I saw one of the libertarian who's running for Secretary of State now as a Republican. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how the shifting party dynamics. We have the state assembly coming up in Colorado. I will actually be out of town, but I've got one of our reporters who will be attending and covering that event. That should be interesting. There's a lot of angst in the local party here. Still, we have this civil war going on between America First and the establishment. Yeah.
It's every state. I mean,
Yep.
the establishment is just getting tyrannical. Look at Florida. I mean, it's insane. They're canceling the county, commissions. I mean, just like, nope, we're going to put our own people in there, even though they voted for this. It's wild. So, so we want to focus on Colorado in the new year. So there'll be some new things coming, and you're going to see a lot more of Ashe in the team. So thank you for running the Colorado Free Press. Where do people follow you and all you personally and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's my absolute honor. And, we need it. We need real reporting in this state because everybody here has an agenda. You can follow me at linktree.com/Ashe in America. That'll get you my socials, all the different places where my writing is, all the different places where the shows are. So it's hard. I'm doing four different kind of outlets, right? And so I have it kind of all consolidated. Linktree.com/Ashe in America, Ashe with an E.
You're a machine. So thank you so much for your reporting, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks, Todd. Bye, guys. Bye.